Um, he comes from Cumberland Presbyterian Chinese Church, and if you know about that church, they started out in Chinatown, but they also have a Daly City campus. And I want to tell a little story as part of my introduction of him and some fun facts. Okay? So when I emailed him and we were thinking about having him give a testimony, one of the things that he said was, but I feel like a little fish in a big pond. I feel like a little fish in a big pond. And I thought about that a little bit, and I tried to encourage him to say, are you kidding? We're all fish in the same pond. Meaning that God has created us to fill a particular niche, or created us in a certain way to make sure that we contribute to the kingdom. So I emailed him back and said, are you kidding? Everyone has something to contribute, and God has made you special. And that's part of the theme about what excel also means, is that you don't have to be the most famous, the richest, the most popular, the most accomplished, what have you. In fact, as we know, God uses everybody in some way in certain situations. Okay? So some of the fun facts that I appreciate, which relates to sports, he shared with me that when he started playing, he didn't have glasses or contacts, so it didn't bother him. He still shot the ball as best as he could, so he tries his best in that. When he was growing up, I think we can identify with this. We didn't have like a basketball hoop or a regular ball, so he used a small rubber ball and a box to practice playing when he was a kid. And then he is such a diehard athlete, and he doesn't just play basketball, but he also helps coach his church's volleyball program. He played sports with a broken foot. I think I got that right, okay? So if you would welcome Gordon Yu from Cumberland, and
I was a broken bone in my foot, so I was wearing a cast in 7th grade, and I fell and tripped going to school, so I told my dad, forget the crutches, not doing crutches anymore, so I just continued to play, and the doctor said, why is your cast all broken in the back? I said, I don't know why. So I was running the schoolyard. So as Peter kindly introduced me, my name is Gordon Yu. I'm from Cumberland, and I'm just delighted to be able to invite it to share with you guys a little bit that's been on my heart, and hopefully you guys just take something away from what I have to share tonight. And as you guys well know, most of us have already been in the league, or at least participating for the last 4 weeks, and our theme this year is Excel. And I apologize if Pastor Jacqueline is here. I forgot most of what he shared on that first Saturday for the kickoff, but one thing I did remember is how he defined Excel. And he said that how he defined Excel is that it is to be better today than who we were yesterday. So allow me to elaborate. Briefly, many years ago, I had my short stint, as Peter mentioned. I used to play basketball. And it was an amazing experience, and I think for some of us, you may remember those locker room times at Ben Franklin. You know, I really enjoyed those times just to be able to kind of get together with different players, and it wasn't like a wrestling match, but you know, you got to have that locker room feeling, like you got to bond and get close to one another. And so we were able to just break spiritual bread together. And those to me were actually my glory days, I feel like. You know, as much as I really enjoyed the sport, I really actually enjoyed the time of fellowship much, much more. And, you know, maybe it's because I wasn't really like the star player. I never really dominated in the court. And as Peter was sharing, it's actually really, I closed my eyes every time I took a shot. So I had no idea what was going on around me when I was playing. And actually, when I got onto the court, it actually made me really nervous. So I actually probably performed pretty poorly during game time. And as I got older, and subsequently, unfortunately, I think my hips kind of wore out a little bit. I got a little out of shape, and I kind of just, you know, stopped playing basketball. I kind of hung up my jersey, so to speak, and I kind of retired from basketball. So, but fast forward a couple years, and at this time, I was barely attending church. I was really involved with just being focused on having fun in college. Maybe some of you can relate. I probably was the last person you want kids to role model after at that time. But, you know, flash forward to a couple years, and it's a really chilly day. It's December, and I'm in St. Louis, Missouri for Urbana 2006 as a Christian conference with 22,000 other Christians. And it was at this time, at this conference, that, you know, during this time, I really tried to search for a purpose in my life. I tried to find something that would be outside of what I just did at school, you know, outside of just what I would be doing at work. I wanted to find something to do that meant something, not just to me, but for other people. And at this time, I realized through the conference that the world was much bigger than the four walls of my church, and definitely much, much bigger than the pleasures in my life. And so I made a decision then to serve God and to commit back to my church, and to get as involved in other ministries as I can. So re-enter CCU basketball. Immediately I realized that our church needed a lot of helpers and leaders for this particular area of ministry, specifically with sports. We had a large group of adults and they had a lot of children, but there was a lot of people in between, people around the early 20s, early 20s or late 20s, to really help bridge that gap. So I decided to join the sports leadership, and at that time began to coach our volleyball teams. I did that for a couple of years, and shortly after, I began assisting and coordinating other things for our Chinatown campus, specifically relating to CCU basketball, with a focus on outreaching the basketball players. And so since then, this is several years ago, we've grown from 1 team to 3 teams, and this year we're competing with 6 teams. And so, luckily for me, I'm just really fortunate to be able to work with some really amazing people at Cumberland, as well as other leaders here at CCU that I've been able to work with who share the same vision. However, today, several years later, I'm sharing here today that I feel like our church, and as well maybe the church in general, is faced with a similar dilemma. We have personally grown our ministry and its recipients of this ministry, but we have not grown enough leaders. Perhaps this is a good challenge to have, but at the same time, I think it's a paradigm of our generation, specifically my generation. And it's just that it's interesting to me that our generation now, people my age, we have more access to resources, with more activities, and we have more access to information than ever before, but yet we don't really use them. We don't do anything with them. We get it all for ourselves. It's almost as if we're a consumer mentality, consumerism, where we just think, what's in it for me? So the challenge lies with us, everyone here in this room, myself included, for us leaders sitting right here. How can we train and influence the people that we're going to be leading the next time, that's going to take the baton from us? How are we going to get them to step up to a place so that they can fill this room, so that we can fill this room, this gym, not just with 2 bleachers, but maybe with 4 or 10, all right? So this is my second year of coaching basketball, and as a player, as I shared, I was pretty terrible as a player. You'd probably hate me and not put me in when it's crunch time. As a skill, in terms of just skills and strategy, I'm probably not much better. Okay, I'm really a volleyball player. But however, all the players on my team, they don't look to me for basketball skills. They go to YouTube and NBA for that stuff, right? But every single one competing in this summer, and I believe on my team as well as hopefully on your teams, they don't need a better basketball coach, okay? What they need are life coaches. They need mentors. They need people who can demonstrate what a Christ-like model is. They need people who can support them in their daily life and challenge them when they need to be. Yes, basketball skills coach is great, and I think they're needed for various reasons. They can probably help develop their game. But that vision, I believe, is way too small. What happens after July, when the season ends with CCU? Are they going to take all this great basketball knowledge that we've given them? What are they going to do with it? My challenge every year is what comes first week of August. What am I going to do, and where are they going to be? Are they going to come back to church, or am I going to make a difference in their life? So I believe that CCU is much, much greater than just training them to be basketball players. Is it meant to be a training ground for school league? Maybe it is for some. Hopefully, I think it's much greater. So as leaders, I think it's difficult to think that, as difficult as it may be, we need to make more time to commit to our players in order if we want to make a difference. This means actually getting involved in their lives. This actually means praying for them, getting to know them, spending time with them, more importantly, sharing Christ with them. Some of you may have non-Christians on your teams. It can be a challenge, but I encourage you to really make it a difference. Make it an intentional, something that you do this summer to share Christ with them so that hopefully Christ can change their lives. We should also not be afraid to empower those that are younger, and so that they have room to run and room to fail, as long as we are actively discipling and mentoring them. And as Dr. John Maxwell writes, he's a great author on leadership, that he teaches his readers to fail forward so that we can improve upon those failures. For my team and many of the younger players and leaders that I work with, I demand excellence. And the reason for that is I want everyone, and I hope everyone can aspire to performing at their very best, and we should give our very best to Christ. And so fellow sports leaders here today, I thank you for this opportunity of sharing, and I think we have a great opportunity here to empower those and the next group of leaders to carry that baton. And as I know some of the CCU committee members here have been around for many, many years, hopefully someday some of us can take that from them and share this vision with them. But let's not overlook this time of giving ourselves, of being just too busy. If I had allowed that to deter my passion for serving others in 2006, I wouldn't be here tonight. I'd probably be vegetating at home, looking at my Facebook or watching TV. All right, so CCU has already paved the road. Many of the leaders who are here today have already built that track for you guys. Let's not continue to be consumers and be spoiled with the mentality of what's in it for me. We need to go out there, get out there, go do the work for Christ, and let's make sure that we are better today than we were yesterday, and make sure that we are better tomorrow than we are today. Thank you.